Timeless and elegant, the legacy of Belgian-born British actress and Hollywood icon Audrey Hepburn lives on through a thoughtful exhibition put together by her son, film producer and author Sean Hepburn Ferrer. Intimate Audrey is coming to Manila by the end of the month, and it features dozens of family photos, memorabilia, letters, speeches, and film clips delving deeper into the life of the girl next door beyond the cameras. Our Christine Jacob-Sandejas sat down with Sean Ferrer, and he tells us how Intimate Audrey captures the essence of Audrey Hepburn as a person, as a mom, an actress, and a humanitarian.
Well, this is sort of the growth factor of, this is our third exhibition in 30 years. And the first one was with the group Ferragamo, and it was heavily towards fashion. Okay. And the second one still had a lot of memorabilia. And I realized with time that that's really not where, Audrey Hepburn is not found in things. She's found in writings, in photographs, in wonderful videos that we've compilated. And so I wanted to do something that was, you would walk out and have this wonderful confirmation that the woman you suspect was that way really was.
I mean, because it's easy for us, I mean, with Google and everything, we get to know Audrey based on her movies and what we know, but what we don't know is what we're going to find out right here in your exhibit.
You talked a minute ago about the girl next door, and people often ask me, so why do you think she's become not just, beloved worldwide, but almost permanently viral? And I thought about it for 30 years. And I think that we perceive her as the girl next door who puts on a little black dress and goes out into the world, and we feel she's one of us, rather than, the untouchable Elizabeth Taylor, Cleopatra-like big movie star.
Okay, so you put up, how long did it take you to put up this exhibit?
Well, this exhibition is an evolving process, so there were...
The one in Belgium, I mean the first one. Yeah.
The first one was launched on what would have been her 90th birthday in Brussels, where she was born. And then we moved it after 4 months to Amsterdam, where she spent the war. And the plan was then to go to England, where she went, and then after that, But England is a tough spot right now because the economy is down, sponsors are hard to find. We do this to raise funds for children, as we're doing here in Manila. And yet the rents are very, very high still. So that kind of made it impossible to go. So I'm really here because of the passion of one woman, one Filipino courageous woman, Carmina Sanchez-Jacob, who contacted me after seeing the exhibition in Amsterdam.
I mean, when she came back from her trip, I mean, that's all she talked about was, this amazing exhibit that she's seen. How difficult was it for you to bring the exhibit here in Manila, and what can we expect now that it is here?
Difficult, not so much. We're used to this. We've been doing it. I have my architect here, Giovanni, who's been with me for 30 years. And so we're used to moving it around. We've been to Japan twice with other versions of it. We've been to Australia. We've been to Hong Kong. We've been to the past exhibition we finished at the Hauptbahnhof in Berlin. So we've been all around the world, so we know how to make this work.
But tell us in detail a little bit about the exhibit. As I understand, there are no labels. Is that how it's done?
No. There are captions.
Okay.
There are captions which explain things. But just to give you an example, when you have a wall of photographs, rather than being arranged like in a museum, it's as if they were in your living room. So it's kind of like a cloud, like in a restaurant, like we have here. Yeah. Photos of Barcelona and 2 of the artworks from the exhibition. So it's a very organic presentation. So you feel really you're walking through someone's home almost. The entire life is seen through the child and the woman and the wife and the mother. So Hollywood takes kind of a back position. So you see it through her eyes. And in actual fact, the main artwork for the exhibition is her standing in the doorway of a film studio looking in. Yeah.
How did you curate all the pieces, the pictures? I mean, I'm sure you had to go through a lot and find,
We've been doing it for 30 years. She was probably one of the most photographed people of the last century. We like to joke in the family that she's kind of the last century's queen of Instagram. And so she kept all the photographs. She may not have kept all of her dresses and so forth, but she kept all the original prints, which is mostly what we have here. And so these are photographs made the old-fashioned way. They're beautiful. The lighting and every aspect of it is gorgeous.
What is the one thing that you would like the public to know most about your mom?
I think this is a wonderful opportunity in a world that at times I perceive has gone a bit mad, to have the reassurance that you can make it in life and be successful and loved worldwide without being outrageous, being humble, being elegant, both outer and inner elegance. You walk in there and you see the wedding dress, and it's a simple little white dress, and pretty soon you start to feel it, on a subconscious level, that this woman, she walked the walk and she talked the talk.
So let's go through your memories of her. As a mother, what were the stories that she loved to tell you about her childhood? What were the stories that when I was so small, this is what I would do?
I wrote this little book after she passed away because we had wonderful opportunity. Sometimes the best that science has to offer is time. And so we knew that we were not going to be able to save her. But we had the time. And we used that time to talk about things that matter. And after we lost her, I sat down and started to write really what started off being a letter to my children, her grandchildren. One day they would grow up and see they had this bigger than life grandmother and wanting to know what she was like. And in the end, I started it with a phrase that she loved to tell, which is, I was born on May 4th, 1929, and I died 6 weeks later. And her mother was a Christian Scientist. The parents were riddled with ideology, which is why we had the great gift of growing up without any kind of ideology. And so she didn't believe in doctors, and my mother got a very bad case of whooping cough. And after a terrible bout, she just stopped breathing and turned blue. And it was my grandmother's sort of spanking her back to life. But I think this story was something that, in a way, had deeper roots. She perceived her entire life as sort of a second chance. She spoke often about the war and what it was like to lose everything you and I take for granted, and how she rediscovered and felt a little bit betrayed because the world had promised we'd never have another, Holocaust, if you may. And then she found herself as UNICEF ambassador, in those camps. And in her eyes, it was all the same.
How difficult was it for her? I mean, during the war, was she depressed? How long?
It was tough. She was in Holland, which was the longest occupation of the war, and really, towards the end, there was really nothing to eat. I mean, they ate dog cookies and pea bread, and they were desperate, and selling their jewelry to buy a potato. I mean, it was very bad, and no heating. In actual fact, instead of doing a catalog for the exhibition, I had this wonderful two illustrators, a French couple. We did an illustrated biography for children about her life. And she used to say, she used to sit in bed. My mother used to say, don't get out of bed to preserve your calories. And read books.
Yeah.
And so I called the little story, which I co-wrote with my wife, Karen, Little Audrey's Daydream. And so she's in bed, and she imagines what her life will be like after the war. And of course, it's all the major milestones of what actually happened.
Yeah. So now let's go to her movie career, her Hollywood career and whatnot. What would she tell you about those heydays in Hollywood that you would fondly remember?
But those heydays are different from the heydays we read about today.
Yes.
I think the whole sense of, I was talking about this with someone yesterday, on how even the word luxury has lost its nature. I mean, when I was growing up, luxury was a hot bath with 3 drops of a wonderful essential oil or a soup that someone made for you when you came home from a long trip. Today, luxury has to involve private jets and all of that. And so in those days, you know, and we had a home in Marbella, which it was during the Franco period, so very much like during the Marcos era here. And the stars were in shorts and flip-flops and espadrilles, and it was kind of a very even playing table. Everybody wanted to get away from it, and nobody behaved like a movie star. You know, so it was a lot of hard work. She felt very fortunate to have had the opportunity to be an independent, you know, a woman in a time where women needed their husband's consent to open a bank account. Certain places couldn't even wear pants, and here she's launching cigarette pants, you know, so.
What did she, for you and through your eyes, how much did she love acting? I mean, was it something that she enjoyed, or was it something that just fell in her lap and, you know, I'm just going to see how far?
It didn't fall in her lap. She wanted to be a dancer. She wanted to be a dancer. She trained, and after the war, she went to London and studied with Marie Rambert, who was Nijinsky's teacher, and or, you know, at the time he had already obviously learned in Russia. And after working with her for 2 years, she asked her honestly, she says, do I have a chance at being a prima ballerina? And Marie, bless her soul, was very honest and said, you have wonderful technique. You do have some issues because of muscle development and malnutrition during the war, but you're too tall, and all these little dancers of the area are not going to be able to pick you up. So she was devastated. And, but she wanted to be great at something. So after crying the hell out in the pillow, you know, she got on with it, as the English say, you know, in a Victorian kind of a way. And she took the next job and the next job, and then she was discovered by Colette on the beach in Monte Carlo and brought to New York to be in Gigi. And that's where the scouts from Paramount came to find her for Roman Holiday, and the rest is history. She was just a very likable person. And I often say that, you know, you don't choose your parents, you don't choose your children. We were very fortunate. We liked each other.
Oh.
And we had a wonderful relationship that way. And the greatest gift of all, I could make her laugh.
You could. What would make her laugh? What would make her laugh?
Imitations, being a clown, the gene is in the family, obviously. And so that's one of the great things I'm going to take to my grave, is that I was able to make her laugh until her belly. And it was needed sometimes, because there wasn't only happy times.
So what was it like growing up with famous parents? Was it pressure? Did you have a hard time?
Actually,
were you like,
I don't know. Because my mother, by the time I had to go to school, and I couldn't go and visit her on the set to break up sort of long shoot, she gave up her career at the top of her game and became a full-time mom. So I did not grow up with a Hollywood mom. I grew up with a real mom who got up, made me breakfast, came to get me at school.
You grew up with a real mom. I mean, that was there for you, but the public, she was not just any ordinary. I mean,
of course, there were paparazzis
so
outside
what was
of the
that like?
school.
I mean, did you have to? Were you protected?
The kids,
were you?
No, not at first.
Were you teased, or were you like, oh my God?
I was definitely teased. The Roman kids are the toughest kids in the world, and so they teased me. But then they realized I was normal, like one of them, and then I was taller, so they put me as the goalie in the soccer team, and from that point on, it was all good.
Well, now we do have the exhibition coming up. Tickets?
Yes. SM tickets. There'll be an 800 Filipino peso for people who want to walk up and walk in. There'll be reservations, you know, at a cheaper rate, half that price.
And beneficiaries, will there be any?
Yes, of course. I mean, this project is being done for a nonprofit I have back home, which supports Eurordis, which is the European Organization for Rare Diseases. My mother died of a rare form of cancer that only touches 1 in a million people. She really was a 1 in a million. And, but we also wanted to leave something here. So we're in the process of talking to a couple different, whether it's UNICEF or Save the Children, I can't tell you yet.
And for you as well. I mean, you have dabbled into films, produced,
Yes,
direct.
I kind of stopped the film.
Acting as well.
When I was little, yes. I stopped the film. I do love projects now, but that's not the way I pay the rent. And you know, I've been looking after her image and these nonprofits and the foundations and the exhibitions and books and this and that. But I am doing a wonderful project in Madrid with a man who is really sort of the Mel Brooks of Spain, Jose Ignacio Salmerón, and we're doing a musical based on her life. And that's all I'm going to say right now, because it's probably the best thing I've ever done in the arena of entertainment.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN Philippines, and for bringing Intimate Audrey to Manila, and for sharing your stories. I mean, as a son, about your mom, who we would never have known if it wasn't for you in terms of sharing and expressing your love and your passion. You know, for her doing what you've been doing this for like 30 years?
30 years.
Of just like, you know, sharing her biography and all that she's done. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.